Welcome YouTube to another episode of D&D Fridays. Today we'll be taking a look at part 2 of the wizard subclasses. We'll be finishing off the PHP classes as well as the Xanathar's and Latasha's classes as well. Before we start, don't forget to hit that notification bell, subscribe to the channel, let everybody else know about this channel, and comment on down below on what you think of this different wizard subclasses. Without further ado, let's get on to some geeky material.
Let's do it.
So continuing on last week's video, we have the School of Transmutation subclass from the PHP. So this is all about the transmutation spells of the different schools of spells. So one of the things that I kind of like about this is on 10th level, you have Shape Changer, which is a pretty cool feature, I think. So, number one, you get to add the Polymorph spell to your spell book if it isn't there already. So, Polymorph is a pretty good spell by itself. So, that's good that you're getting it for free pretty much. And you can also cast it without spending a spell slot. But if you do so, you can only target yourself and you transform into a beast with a CR of 1 or lower. So you're not going to get anything too powerful like a T-Wex or anything like that out of this free cast, but depending on what type of different, I don't know, you're about to do some scouting or some exploring or something like that, you can really use that into some advantage as well. Especially if you don't have a Circle of the Moon Druid in your party. And also you can do this once per short or long rest. And the good thing about this is you can still cast Polymorph normally by using a regular spell slot to get the regular effect off of it. So I think this is a really cool different feature.
Yeah, I think Shape Changer's got a lot of potential for a skill. I very much, I think it fits great here. One of the other skills that I like in here is when you get level 14, Master Transmuter. So as you level up, you can start crafting transmuter stones, which help you cast your transmute spells. And at 14, you can actually use your action to consume the reserve magic stored within the transmuter stone in a single burst. So when you do that, you get your choice of basically 5 different options that can happen. You can do a major transformation, where you transmute one net magical object no larger than 5 foot cubed into another magical object of similar size, mass, and of equal or lesser value. And it takes you about 10 minutes to do that. You can do Panacea, which removes all curses, diseases, and poisoning effects on a creature that you touch with the stone, and the creature regains all of its hit points. You can Restore Life. Essentially, you cast the Raise Dead spell on a creature you touch without expending a spell slot. Or, probably the most silly one here, Restore Youth. You can touch the transmuter stone to a willing creature, and the creature's apparent age is reduced by 3d10. Can't go below 13, so you can't make them look like they're babies. But but that's all it really does, is it makes them look younger. It doesn't really extend their lifespan, right? So you're not really reversing the wheel of time or anything like that. But I think there's a few good things in this skill, right? I really like Panacea. I really like Restore Life. I think that there's some great utility with Major Transformation. And again, you've got some RPing possibility with Restore Youth, whether it's within your party or an NPC that you come across. So
yeah, just whatever you do. If you have somebody playing the trope of the horny bard, don't use that youth on them. Or else your GM may or may not hate you. So with that, we'll take a look at Xanathar's Guide to Everything, where it introduces the War Magic Wizard. So the War Magic Wizard to me really offers a lot of cool things to shore up their own defenses. So in a way, so that's kind of similar to the Abjuration Wizard in terms of being a little bit more defensive. But the difference is the War Magic Wizard really focuses on all those defenses for themselves instead of for the party as a whole. So a couple of different things that they get. So a couple of my favorite powers is on second level they get Arcane Deflection. So as a reaction, you can get either a +2 to AC or a +4 to save and throw. But if you use it, you can only cast cantrips your next turn. So it has some uses. Although I wouldn't recommend using the +2 AC part of it because the shield spell does it much better. But the +4 to a certain save and throw that could be very useful. Um,
Yes.
Especially remember that concentration checks are technically a Constitution save and throw. So that's pretty good, especially when used in Tensor's transformation, which kind of converts you into a melee wizard more or less, but you can't cast spells during that transformation. So using this power is going to be very useful if you go down that particular build. And one of my other favorite things that also at second level is tactical wit. You basically add your intelligence modifier to your initiative as well. So this really helps you out if you're going for more of the battlefield control buffer debuffer type of wizard. Allows you to have a better chance of getting that stuff off first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both of those are great little skills, to, especially to start out with. And I 100% agree with you. I think the +4 is really where you want to focus your arcane deflection instead of the +2 AC. And going along with arcane deflection, I really like how it gets upgraded later on with deflecting shroud at level 14. You basically can reflect back the magic back to the person that threw it at you, right? So when you use your arcane deflection feature, you can cause magical energy to arc from you. And up to 3 creatures of your choice you can see within 60 feet take extra force damage equal to half your wizard level. So it's more flavorful in my opinion. I don't think it's as powerful as it initially looks, but I think it's kind of cool to be able to, to imagine your wizard deflecting some sort of magic spell coming out. I was going to say magic missile, and then I decided that's probably not the best example. But um, but deflecting a spell and being able to, not get hit by it, but then deflect some of that back at the caster plus any of his minions or cohorts or whatever is in the surrounding vicinity. I think there's a cool visual effect there with this skill.
Yeah. And just looking over this, in addition to tactical wit really bolstering the power of a battlefield controller, I think durable magic really ratchets it up another notch. Basically, when you're maintaining concentration on a spell, as long as you're maintaining concentration, you have a flat +2 bonus to AC and all saving throws to really help shore up your own defenses so you don't drop that concentration save.
Yeah, that's actually a really good skill too. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, how many times do you wish you just had one more on the die when you're trying to maintain your concentration, right? It always seems like it's just right there on the edge. And getting a free +2 bonus when you're concentrating, I think is extremely, extremely nice.
And compare that and combine that with the fact that it also works with your second level ability as well. So you could potentially have a +6 to save and throw, or a +7 to your AC if you combine that with your shield spell.
Yep, exactly.
Which I mean, a wizard having a potential for 20, 21 or so AC for an entire round, that's kind of gnarly. Especially for not having armor.
Yep, definitely. That wizard's living the good life.
Yep, living its life like it's golden. So next up we have Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which introduces, I think, some very good wizard subclasses. So so kind of going in a slightly different route, we're going to start with the Order of Scribes. So it offers a lot of cool things that really focuses in more on their spell book and really note taking, which led me to believe I really wish that I have an Order of the Scribes wizard with me during all of my Scrum meetings and Agile meetings and stuff like that.
Are you saying they're good at taking notes? Is that?
Yeah. Although, if you want them for some Kanban, you're more than welcome to borrow them.
Oh, hey, thanks.
So, so one of the cool things is basically, um, I think, is their ability to really change out their spell types. So, so basically, on starting on second level, one of their things is Awakened Spellbook, which offers them a couple of different options. One of the things that I really like is about this is not only can you use your spellbook as your spellcasting focus, which makes a lot of thematic sense, but whenever you cast a wizard spell with a spell slot, uh, you can change the type of that spell to another type of another spell as long as it's the same level as that spell. So, for instance, if you happen to have Fireball and Lightning Bolt both in your spell book, and you want to cast Fireball, you can cast pretty much Lightning Ball instead, changing Fireball's fire damage to lightning damage. So that's really cool. Um, and it's just for having another level spell of the same level. You don't even have to have it prepared. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's actually really cool too. I really like the level 10 skill that you get, Master Scrivener. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can create one magic scroll by touching your wizardly quill to a blank piece of paper or parchment and causing one spell from your spell book to be copied onto the scroll. The spell must be a first or second level and not have a casting time of more than one turn. Um, the cool thing is once it's in the scroll, the spell's power or the spell counts as one level higher than normal. So if you put in a level 1, it casts as a level 2 from the scroll. And you can cast the spell by reading the scroll as an action. Unfortunately, not anyone else can use it, so you can't just write down a whole bunch of level 1 and level 2 spells and start handing them out. But it does essentially give you an extra spell slot to cast one of your level 1 or level 2 spells, which is, I think, really, really handy. It gives you that extra little spell slot right there.
Yeah, I agree. So it's definitely a pretty cool subclass by itself. And the other subclass that we get from Tasha's is actually something that we first saw in the Sword Coast Adventures source book, and what I think is a pretty cool take on a wizard class, the Blade Singer Wizard. So, as opposed to your usual wizard that stands back and just fire off spells, this type of wizard wants to get in and melee a little bit. So they start off with with proficiency in light armor and one martial weapon of your choice, which is probably going to be a rapier.
Yeah.
And one of their biggest things on second level is their blade song. That's what they're known for. That you can turn it on as a bonus action, and you have blade songs equal to your proficiency bonus that refreshes on a long rest. And this blade song really offers quite a bit. So first off, you gain a bonus to your AC equal to your intelligence modifier. Your walking speed increases by 10 feet. You have advantage on acrobatics check, and you gain a bonus to any Constitution saving throw used to make a concentration check or save. equal to your intelligence modifier. So that's really offering a lot, especially since you're going to be focusing on your intelligence just as much as your dexterity. It's going to be very likely to start off with at least an extra +3 to your AC and your concentration saves. So so now, unlike maybe some of the other wizard subclasses, you might want to look at some other feats instead of focusing on trying to get that resilience constitution feat early on. Now you can say, all right, I want to experiment with the tough feat or the piercer feat or whatever.
Yeah, this subclass is, I think, very powerful. It's very versatile. It does take a different twist on the wizard, but I mean, speaking of skills that they get, 6th level, everybody's favorite type of skill, extra attack, man. Like,
Yeah, and
who would have thought that a wizard was going to get an extra attack?
and
And
and not just any old extra attack either, a very special extra attack too.
yeah, if you want to use that extra attack to cast one of your cantrips, you can definitely do that. So it gives you the opportunity to not only swing that rapier, but also cast a spell, which is very, very, very cool.
So it really allows you to do some cool stuff, and I think the four most common cantrips that I'll definitely recommend any blade singer to pick up at least two of is picking up a combination of Boom and Blade, Green Flame Blade, Lightning Lure, and Shocking Grasp. I think picking up some combination of those four cantrips will be pretty good. I think one of the blades and either Lightning Lure or Shocking Grasp I think is a good combination, depending on if you want to pull stuff towards you or to be able to disengage more or less. If you hit with Shocking Grasp, I think is going to be pretty good.
I very much agree with that assessment. There is one more skill that I wanna call out for this subclass, the level 10 skill, Song of Defense. It lets you tank a little bit of damage, which is great for any wizard. But I think this one is really efficient. You can use your reaction to expend one of your spell slots and reduce the damage you take by 5 times the spell slot. So if you're in a total complete bind and you've got a couple of 6th level spells slots still open, hey, you're reducing that damage by 30 points. That's pretty nice.
And I think the Song of Defense, I think it really shines when you're getting hit by an attack um, that really gets over that your AC +5 from the shield spell. Like, let's say with the shield spell up, you get hit. Like, if you were to cast the shield spell, let's say you would have had a AC of 23, but you get hit with something that has an attack roll of 26. Don't bother with shield. Reduce the damage with this. So it really gives you that thought of no matter what's coming at me, I'll either reduce the damage or negate it outright. So it really gives you those options.
I think having those options available is it was one of the reasons why I wanted to call this skill out, is because it gives you more than one thing to do. You can do multiple things. You can use the shield spell, or you can just reduce the damage, and depending on the situation, one might be better than the other. So yeah.
Yeah. And with the Song of Defense, it also makes you realize I could consider picking up a different spell as opposed to absorb elements now.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's really a really good class, and of course now you're gonna have to really work on your dexterity as well instead of just your intelligence. But I think it's still pretty good, pretty good. Um, is assuming that you're maxing out or starting off with good dexterity and intelligence scores, then with your blade song on and some studded leather, you're already starting off with 18 AC just from the get go with 16s and dexterity and intelligence.
Yep.
That's freaking amazing for a full caster with a D6 hit die.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And that's not in, take into account any of the other features, the shield spell, absorb element spell, whatever it may be. So there's a lot of debate going on with should blade singers be melee combatants or stay back and just rely on their spells and just pop a blade song for extra defense. So I think it depends on the situation what you'll do. I think was the blade song does offer a lot of good defensive options to really help protect you. So I think it. So I think still smartly picking up good smart spells will definitely help you out. If the situation calls for melee, just pop your blade song on turn one and then pop a good concentration spell, hypnotic pattern, haste yourself, whatever, and then start to go on down on second level, second round. If there's a lot of melee enemies, hang back. Don't really need to pull out your rapier. Just start casting your spells, your chill touch, whatever it may be, and you're still going to be pretty good. So that so I think it really doubles down on that extra versatility that wizards already get. Because now, in addition to all your spells, you can potentially raid into melee as well.
Yep.
And who's to say that you can't still wade into melee once the enemy horde has thinned down a little bit?
Right. Exactly.
Because you can pull out one weapon as part of your attack.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. And it's pretty cool. You can also combine it with like a rogue as well. As you're already going to be focusing in on your dexterity if you want to get a little bit of sneak attack.
Sure. There's some synergy there for sure.
Especially if you go with a arcane trickster rogue.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Or an eldritch knight.
I think it fits into a lot of different sub multi-classing options.
Yeah. I think so too. And I think some of the changes that they made to the Blade Singer from Sword Coast is pretty good. Was the change that they did make was actually to the extra attack. Before in Sword Coast, it was just a regular extra attack, but now the ability to be able to cast a cantrip in place of one of those two attacks, either the first or second one, I think that's really amazing. Really good. So overall, I think for the most part, the Wizard has a lot of good stuff going in for it. I don't think it has any bad subclasses at all. I think even some of the worst subclasses for the Wizards still can be good in a decent amount of cases as well.
I
So
agree.
yeah, so all in all, I think Wizard is a good thing, good class to play. Um, it's a very newbie friendly class as you don't really have a lot of stuff to worry about except for how spellcasting works. So I think that's pretty good. Um, how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I, I I agree with everything you said. I think the only thing that I would add there would be I think the amount of spells that are available can be a little bit overwhelming for a newer player. So there has to be there's a little bit of a learning curve there, but they're not you can take spells that are pretty easy to remember and learn, quote unquote learn. But I agree. I think the wizard would be it's a fun class to play. I think there's a lot of good subclasses for it, and it's a great first class to cut people's teeth on.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Well, that's another episode of D&D Fridays. Stay tuned for next week when we will be closing out the whole character overview arc with the Artificer class. And until then, YouTube, keep your lives geeky.
Bye, everybody.